Hello everyone, how are we doing on this beautiful day? Hope you're all doing great because we have got an awesome set of StarCraft 2 games for you. Very similar to the last couple of games we did from the War Chest Team League. We did Serral versus Clem the other day, and if you watched that, this is a very similar format in that these two players today both played each other twice in the War Chest Team League, and so we've got two maps of them. So the score doesn't really matter here. These are both kind of individual games. In the top left-hand side, our pink Zerg player is Cyril. And the bottom right-hand side, the green Terran player is INnoVation. Here in what will be, again, two maps of Serral versus INnoVation. Now, what is a little bit different to the Serral Clamcast that I did is those two games were played on different days. In this set of games, whoever won this first map was actually able to force an ace match for their team, which is where these two met again. And I can say that without it, being spoilers or so, because I'm not going to tell you what the score was going into this game or anything, right? So that's all you need to know, that this first game was still during the first 4 maps or so, and then the second time they play was the ace match, tournament on, or not tournament on the line, but, match on the line. It was a team tournament, the War Chest Team League. If you want to find out more about it, as always, there's a link in the description down below. You can read all about it. It was super awesome. It was streamed on the StarCraft YouTube channel. And I did a lot of the organizing for the event, but I didn't cast any of it, which means that I'm getting my dose of casting it now, casting some of the replays for you guys here on the YouTube channel. And of course, just before we talk about this pool first, etc., just want to say if you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying the channel in general, hit that like button, of course, help spread this video to other people, and don't forget to subscribe as we are on our way to 30k YouTube subs. So thank you so much for all of that support. So the start here from Serral is a pool. And a pretty quick gas as well. Now, this is submarine, and this really does open a lot of the early roach aggression. And that's one of the things that you may be looking at here. I think it's actually interesting to talk about submarine in the first place and why these two are playing on submarine. When you set up the lineups for these teams, they are both given like a list of maps, and each team says, right, I'm going to put this player on this map, this player on this map. So INnoVation on submarine is no surprise. Awesome Terran map, nice and small. Serral on submarine, now that's something I wasn't really expecting. Unless he really wanted to get a Terran player to play against and to really try and win this game, because he just believes the map doesn't matter for him, sort of style. So yeah, really kind of interesting that they played on submarine in the first place. We'll see this early gas and the link speed coming up fairly quick, but it doesn't look like Serral really has too much intentions beyond that just yet. While INnoVation, it's worth mentioning his build, because this is a little bit offbeat as well. The 2-1-1 was standard for months upon months and was really a big go-to build in TVZ, and it is making a little bit of a reappearance once again, where we've actually seen it be used here and there in a longer series to catch players off guard, and to really just kind of mix it up a little bit, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's still a good build, it just became less good because Terrans used it so much, the Zergs had it so well figured out, but throwing it in here every now and then is nice. However, Serral with these early lings, he has ling speed already, so he gets up and he actually sees a good marine count. Now, he sees the factory next to the reactor. We'll see if he can confirm the scout to confirm that this is a 2-1-1. Basically, no Hellions, continued marine production, etc. These are all signs of the 2-1-1. At which point you want to go to like 44, 45 drones, make lings and queens, and then maybe add on a baneling nest just in case there's a second wave where there's going to be more than the first 2 medevacs coming across the map. As this Reaper gets straight in, good scout from INnoVation, wants to know there's no roach attack coming, because if there's a roach attack coming, he needs to start getting a bunker up. Especially when this factory's building a reactor, it's not building any defensive unit or so. And Serral, this Overlord is quite important, because if you can get in here, you can pretty much identify exactly what this is. He isn't going to make the move for it yet, although these lings will do just the same job, right? So he doesn't need to put the Overlord in, because the Zerglings see lots of Marines, no Hellions. There's only really one thing that this can be, but this is going to be a bit of a fun follow-up. We're going to see Hellions on the factory. He actually moves the racks off the reactor to make a couple of medevacs. This is going to be a Hellbat setup then. And this is going to be a little bit more all-in from INnoVation. As we see the Carapace upgrade on that Evolution Chamber continuing through at the moment, so that's on the way up. Okay. Yeah, this is actually kind of interesting. Because this is obviously, even when you see this kind of all in, usually you see 1 medevac at a time with the Hellions producing off this reactor, and the Marines still producing 2 at a time off the reactor as well. But yeah, he's really wanting the 2 medevacs, maybe even to sell the idea of this still being regular, right? You look at this initial move out, and Serral is going to see, right, medevac's cool. You know, this looks very normal. Okay, you haven't lifted up and moved across the map, but you haven't got units you're not meant to have, so it's very hard for him to identify what's up. Now, Bane Nest starts up, and that might just be a little bit too late. You're getting the Carapace upgrade because it's very good against Marine-based openings when the Marines are attacking from range all the time, and that still will be true in this, but I don't think it'll be done for this fight. It's generally meant to come in for the follow-up drops that are hitting a little bit sooner than usual and a little bit more force than usual. These Hellions are going to be deadly. I mean, Serral comes in, and he sees it now. Now he sees the setup of the reactor on the starport, reactor on the factory, and I think immediately he knows he's in a bit of trouble. He pulls back the Queens even. He doesn't even try and compete with this on the edge of creep to slow it down. He knows exactly what's going on. He has to take a fight on creep right now, but his Bane Nest still isn't done. And INnoVation's going to move into the third base. So here we go. Marines stemming. Hellbats attacking. The Queens, what can they do here? Well, man, you can see the Lings. They're just terrified to join this fight. They know it's not going to be pretty for them. Now they come in. They try and catch the Hellions on the backside, and they will get one of the Hellbats. No! It stays alive as well. And INnoVation is just going to push through. All of the Queens are going to go down. I mean, these Banes are going to pop with, what, like 0 Zergling support? Hellbat's going to get a lot of the damage done there. I will say, as the Marines actually load up and do a little bit of a dance around, that the Hellbats actually tanked a decent amount. But look how many drones have gone down. 14 workers killed as INnoVation is looking as though he might even get this hatchery kill. I mean, a few more Lings, if they want to run into this and give themselves up, that's just going to be trades INnoVation's happy with. He won't get the hatchery then, right? He will trade out for a lot more Zerglings, though, as his medevacs run out of energy. Those are still good trades towards the end as whoa. Double factory. I see the +1 vehicle weapons on the armory. I didn't really think too much of that, but the double factory and INnoVation is going to crank out mech as a follow-up. I hate it. Okay? I hate, like, he's so far ahead. Does he even need the follow-up? Maybe not. He might just, does he end the game with this attack? Couple Banes, if they hit correctly, probably can hold this off. I hate the mech follow-up because it feels like you give up all of your momentum you just gained by doing a ridiculous amount of damage. Because now Cyril is, you know, basically INnoVation is resetting his entire tech, right? So he's got these Marines, but that's it. There's no follow-up to this. So actually, Cyril can really transition away from this right now. And okay, INnoVation's got the extra factories moving into position already. It just feels like such a reset where it's going to take him a while to build up this mech army. Imagine he just added on barracks number 3, 4, and 5. This next wave of bio would be so large that this little chunk of Ling Bane ain't going to do anything. He's down 6, 8 workers still, Serral. I don't like the mech follow-up, and it might just be he's so far ahead it's going to work, but I really feel this just takes the wind out of the sails and gives Serral an opportunity. And you know what they say? Well, I don't know if people say this, but I say this. The more opportunities you give to Serral, the less likely you are to win. I mean, okay, that's a terrible say. That's obvious. But, like, the last person in the world you want to be given chances to and opportunities to is someone like Cyril, because he will take those chances and he will run away with games in those sort of scenarios. But right now, I love this. The Libera is actually doing great as they show up. Well, maybe not so much this one, but this one does great. Full drone pull, 4 drones, and INnoVation will maintain a worker lead. So I'm talking all doom and gloom. I just don't like the mech follow-up. In fact, you know, you look at this, and INnoVation's army supply is great. He's still got a decent army at the front, a few Marines supporting. The Liberator is denying some mining time, making it even more difficult for Serral to get back in the game. And INnoVation is still in a perfectly good position. I just think it would have been easier to follow up with the bio. Serral gets melee and missile upgrades, so what's his scouting being like? He has seen the factory, so he is aware that this is a mech follow-up. As he continues to drone, adding a couple units in here and there. And I wonder what else he goes for, right? Because he's kind of playing this switch into mech. I mean, he's got Banes, he's got Roaches. Do you just play Ling Bane Ravager here? Do you go for something different? If you go Ling Bane Ravager, you generally want to tech up into that hive, start thinking about Vipers early. Alternatively, maybe the Swarm Hosts are an option as well. If he drops the Infestation Pit, that could honestly be either or at the moment. He is floating a lot of gas, which makes me think Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts are kind of that option of, like, you know, it gives you that efficiency. I'm a little bit skeptical about them because the later the Swarm Hosts show up, the less value you get out of your Swarm Hosts, right? As trade goes down, INnoVation splits, these Lings will go down. And there's just not enough Marines to follow up against the Roaches as INnoVation continues to back away. And we'll actually load up into these medevacs and back off over the right side. So, yeah, you know, I kind of look at this, and like I say, I really think it's one of those scenarios where it's like, okay, INnoVation is in an okay spot, but now Swarm Hosts are starting to come up, and then even then I'm like, well, Swarm Hosts are that unit that does take a while to come into play. because, again, imagine you had the Swarm Host up 2 minutes ago. You've already had 2 waves of Locusts out, and that's why Swarm Host this late get me a little bit worried. 13 of them are coming up. That's a nice scan from Inno. Does he know about the Infestation Pit? Where is that Infestation Pit? He scans the 3rd as well. I feel like he sees the Infestation Pit now, and he saw no Hive. And I feel like that might be a good enough scan to tell him a little bit of what's up. He has got Infernal Pre-Igniter, so he's got Blue Flame on the Hellions, which is one of the big things about fighting against the Locusts. He's adding on a whole chunk of Siege Tanks as well right now. I tell you what, the creep spread, by the way, from Serral is insane. And is that just the repercussions of... I mean, INnoVation was a little bit lazy clearing out creep initially, I guess, but I guess this is also just the fact where he's keeping units at home to deal with their own buy. And because of the transition, he doesn't really have more units on the map to clean creep spread up. So this is fantastic because it means that Serral can play these Swarm Hosts without a Nidus network. You can just run around the map because A, it's a small map, and B, it's covered in creeps, so the Swarm Hosts are going to be quick, and the first round of Locusts heading straight into this 3rd base. Well, that's going to do some damage, but INnoVation's on the map as well, and looking as though he might continue to push. How many SCVs go down here? Starting to add up quite quickly, as a few of the Locusts maybe could have held position and just killed even more SCVs. I would say INnoVation has been perhaps fortunate there not to lose a little bit more of that mineral line, but he is still in a great spot on the map. He has smart servos coming up, so you can swap his Hellions into Hellbat modes more quickly, which is actually nice if you want to quickly move into different modes for mobility versus tanking Locusts. He is going to get Magfield as well. I mean, Cyclones just add a little bit of mobility to this army in general. I don't know if you necessarily need the Cyclones here, because this death push up the center of the map still looks terrifying to me. I mean, then it comes down to the Swarm Hosts, which are going to drop only half a wave of Locusts on toward the back few tanks here, and they actually might get a pretty good catch. A few Hellions not nearby. He gets 1 tank, it's okay. I mean, the fact it was only half the wave is kind of nice. Now he sends the other half a wave to go harassing into this mineral line again, or into that base at least. That tank is going to go down. Depot goes down. I mean, just some little bits and pieces, right? But INnoVation going to be supply blocked in a moment, so he is going to start taking some hurt on the macro side of things. As these tanks continue to push up, and Serral just continuing to back away, using all of the space he has on this map to back off, drop a few corrosive bowels, trade out as best he can here, there, or anywhere. The Banelings wander in towards those few Hellbats, corrosive bowels coming down, keeping the few Hellbats at bay. Lings from the back actually going to catch a couple of the tanks INnoVation didn't bring forward soon enough. And there's again that half wave of Locusts. Just half the Swarm Hosts activating at once, and a few tanks on siege here. Serral goes diving in, a few Banelings from the left side. The Locusts dropping in to help with that. Oh my god, that triple kill on the siege tanks there is massive. I actually didn't mind this so much for Inno, but suddenly I see those tanks going down, and then this next wave of Locusts come in as INnoVation was on siege, and then all of a sudden, INnoVation only has 3 siege tanks left, and Serral's just gonna run into this army. Oh, INnoVation, what have you done? This was, I mean, it was a very beautiful fight from Serral, right? First wave of Locusts, half of them really initiating, gets a good few bows off, and clears up enough that the second wave of Locusts is really monumental, and then he just has the momentum to push on through. I mean, the thing is, you don't usually play a Hellion tank as a mech style as well nowadays, because it doesn't have the pressure to kind of, you know, really do what it needs to do against the Zerg. That's why you so often see Hellion Cyclone into tanks. But without the Cyclones here, with so much creep, Serral's just had the map control. There's been no real pressure on him, and I feel like he's just had an eternity to set up a fight that was the answer to this mech army. Like, he had multiple waves of cleaning it up, and I can't help but feel that everything INnoVation has done this game has just been that little bit slow. Just because, again, the mech transition is slow. Then he transitioned to Hellion's tank, and that's slow. It's not really, like, it doesn't do much. Maybe I'm an INnoVation fanboys, guys, but I sound like a bit of an INnoVation hater right now. As we're going to see corrosive bars firing up into the sky. A few Banes are going to come rolling in as the Planetary Fortress will go down. A lot of SCVs starting to drop. 13 workers have been killed. On the bottom side, we see Hellbats and tanks cleaning up a few extra bits and pieces. Locusts from Serral will pop up into the sky, and another round of Banelings on the way out. Well, Lings are going to run into this here as the Banes come through. We're just going to be seeing these couple of siege tanks getting picked away, and we are going to have these Ravagers being pushed away as well. So Ravagers being pushed back pretty easily. Hellbats, Cyclones continuing to come up to this top side and continue to push that Ravager, Baneling, Zergling army away. I mean, this was a nice defense from INnoVation, but look at where he's at right now. 4th base denied. So you're running on no 4th base. You're running in a position where you're just very simply Well, you just don't have anything. Like, this lib harass is nice and all, but you're trying to harass Cyril down from a 15 worker advantage. I mean, it's just Cyril's game. He still has great creep on his left side for mobility as well, as we do see Links and Banes running through. I'm just going to be seeing a few... I mean, there's going to be a denial on a base, which is nice. Keeping Cyril to 4 bases if you're on 3 seems like almost, an essential maneuver. Tenants here, as you're going to see our Banes running forward. The other Cyclones coming around. Hellions going to keep on running as this Liberator is going to get picked off in an instant by the few Queens. I'm still just going to see this Hellion Cyclone Force trying to trade out over here, but there's a lot of Ravagers. Locusts continuing towards these depots as well, so we've seen a few of these Locusts being picking away at the third base, and so INnoVation's just losing stuff around the map as these Cyclones may very well get the kills on these Ravagers, but at the end of the day, once more, look at the reinforcements from Serral. A lot of Lings on the map, a lot of Roaches on the way up, maybe again a little overeager, but he also still has all of these Swarm Hosts. Not a single Swarm Host died in this game, and that's why Cyclones earlier on would have been nice too, because Cyclones are the kind of unit that can get a lock on and maybe actually chase those Swarm Hosts for a kill or two every now and then, which may have been quite nice in this circumstances. These things come in, mules go down. We do have the aggression continuing. A few of these SCVs dropping across the map still is just going to be seeing our Hellions and Cyclones trying to clean up that base. Again, I mean, the creep denial has been much better as of late, and Cyril's never really got back to resetting that. I'm just wondering again, is that really making much of a difference? It maybe actually keeps the Swarm Hosts at bay, which is nice, right? It's more difficult to get these Swarm Hosts on the map if you don't have the creep spread all over. And it was really one of the big strengths that Cyril had in the earlier stages of this. As Cyril back around into the center, the Cyclones of INnoVation move to the far right. A few drones going down as Hellbats drop in, and that's going to be a roasting and a toasting. 6 drones going down as you see the rest of these Lings showing up. And there is going to be these Cyclones backing off to the side. Just going to be seeing the Locusts are able to move around, and they're just going to continue down to that bottom right side as well. Just going to see another couple of shots going down. It's just going to be seen, 10 SCVs being picked away at. A lot of Lings from Serral down the bottom. They're going to run straight in. Tank going to get picked away at. Aliens coming through to pick away at these Zerglings. That's a lot of SCVs going down, let's just face it. It's a ton of damage. It's kind of a hard game to cast, guys, because I feel like INnoVation's been dead for 5 minutes. I want to try and make it exciting and interesting and tell you ways in which INnoVation can get back, but, was there a way for INnoVation to get back after he lost so much? Serral just had so much on the map. I think the answer would have been... I think the answer was that INnoVation just needed a hell of a lot more harassment around the map. He needed to take down bases here and there, and keep Serral to 3 bases perhaps, and then maybe you can claw your way back in playing defensively. But yeah, he lost that army, loses his 4th base, and it's just a slow death from there as INnoVation does lose the game. So it was Serral that needed to win this to force the ace match, and obviously then Serral, as we see, does win this, and he forces the ace match, and in the ace match, both the team captains, Pig and Zombie Grub, decided to say, hey, I'm going to send out Serral, and I'm going to send out INnoVation again. And they met again in the ace, which is what's going to be our second game of this little YouTube video. So let's get into a second game of INnoVation versus Serral and see if INnoVation can actually capitalize on the massive game-ending damage he did in the early game. Can he do it again? The thing is, I don't think Serral falls for the same trick twice. So, it feels tough. Let's see what INnoVation can do. Okay, so their rematch, the ace match of what was this team best-of-5 series, is going to happen on Eternal Empire. And in the bottom left-hand side, didn't really need to be here if he just built some more bio units. I'm honestly going to stand by it and see if he just built some more barracks and some more bio, he would have overrun Serral, and this game would not have been a thing at all. It is INnoVation in the bottom left-hand side. It's our green Terran player. He takes on the pink Zerg in the top right, Serral. Just in case you're wondering about the colors, the teams in the War Chest Team League each had a set color to use. So Pig picked pink, as he liked to say his team was pink as a pig, and INnoVation was on Zombie Grub's team, and she just picked green. I don't know if green's just her favorite color, she just fancied it, but that's why they are playing pink versus green here, just in case you're like, Wardy, where's the red versus blue? Whee! I know a lot of you guys, I know there are some viewers out there who are colorblind. And in general, I do wonder, do let me know if you may be affected by color blindness, but I do wonder how bad some of the colors are, especially, like, does it bother you if, like, 2 different races are are colors which you can't distinguish as easily. I've had this discussion a few times, but I guess it's... I've always personally found that not many people really speak up as long as the colors aren't, like, super similar. Like, I think even, like, red versus pink is obviously a bit of an issue, even if it's, like, TVZ, right? I feel like green-pink maybe a little bit better. I know green's kind of a weird one. Anyway, let's talk about the StarCrafters. This game, Serral goes for the hatchery first, so Eternal Empire isn't worried about any proxy play or anything. Doesn't want to set up for the potential to be overly aggressive as well. With the hatchery first, obviously a gas pool hatch gives you that much more higher chance of... Not higher chance, but higher... if you scout Serral, it's a higher chance he's maybe doing something aggressive, right? From a Serral point of view, it gives him the option to go very aggressive if he sees the opportunity, I guess. Is the way I want to phrase it, as we do see this Reaper is going to make its way out and across to the upper right side. And a couple of Queens on the way down here, a few Zerglings building up. And very standard stuff from Serral so far. With the SCV Scout not even bothering to try and stick around to delay a third hatchery or anything. We are just going to be seeing this Reaper from INnoVation continuing straight across the upper right-hand side. Is going to move through into the natural and perhaps up into the main base in the near future. As a grenade goes down, drone gets pushed away. Healing is being picked away at here initially as well, as we do have our command center building on the natural expansion, waiting for some decisions to be made, and it's going to be a fast 3cc from INnoVation, so a third command center early in the game. Obviously very different from the last game, no second racks or anything. This is obviously just not a 2-1-1. We'll see what his play off the 3cc is, whether he wants to play mech here, or maybe if he wants to switch up into bio for Eternal Empire. This is definitely a map in which... There's definitely a map in which you can go for like a second racks and like a, you know, a starport then after, and go like kind of a 2-1-1 after 3cc and delay some Hellions. This is going to be the starport coming down. Hellion production will begin. INnoVation will set up into this little bit of harassment. Takes a second gas now out on the natural expansion, and I imagine the plan is to just go... I mean, there'll be a tech lab on the racks at some stage, whether that's for... It doesn't look like there'll be one for the starport, so maybe just Hellion Liberator initially here. There's no Marines in production, I think, quite notably. Just this one over here to maybe stop an Overlord from this area. As Serral actually starts up the 2-base lair, he will take the hatchery behind it, so it's kind of that 2.5 base Spire play is what we kind of call it, because it's not quite 2 base because you get the 3 base up and you will start to saturate a little bit, but it is generally going to be a fast Spire here. And INnoVation, he throws down a fusion core, which is not great, so he's going to go for the battlecruiser follow-up here. It's not great because the lair is so quick, and if Serral goes into the Spire, which I imagine he will, there's nothing else he's really set up for on 3 gases and a fast lair like this, then he's obviously in a great spot to defend the BCs initially. So this already looks to be pretty darn good for Serral just on the initial build order. I mean, this is why this faster lair style really became a thing, because of all the battlecruiser openers. And this faster lair style is actually Serral, one of the first players who actually used this. It was at Katowice this year. I mean, you know, 2-base meter and stuff has been around for a while, but the first time I really saw this coming in as an answer was he used this 2-base meter against TY in Katowice group stages, and it was just like, wow, Serral just absolutely, like, destroyed him. And I was like, wait, he's defending the BCs with meters? And little did we know that that was then going to become the meta for the foreseeable future in ZvT, and it's exactly what has transpired, where it is just this consistent... You know, make mutas, they come out quickly enough to defend the BCs, and then you've got the mutas to harass with, which obviously makes life difficult for INnoVation. And with the mutas, you can basically take the entirety of the map, which is a big positive as well, as this Marines push this Overlord away up the left-hand side. So that has been moved back for the moment, and Marine just coming in, Overlord taking a couple extra bits and pieces of damage. A couple of extra factories coming up, and the armory is building in the back of this main, so INnoVation going to go full-on mech behind this. Well, he needs to be careful. If this first BC teleports across the map, he's going to teleport in, and he's never getting out. And then the mutas kill a BC, and if the mutas kill a battlecruiser, this gets so out of control because the lack of anti-air you'll have at home is really substantial. BC is going to teleport. I really don't like this. He teleports on top of the Queens, which actually, yeah, it looks great initially, right? Hellions here to try and fight the Lings. I mean, the BC is going to get a couple of these Queens. Well, apparently not. We're going to let that one live on super low HP. You're kidding me, BC. Battlecruiser, please. These Queens are so low. Now the transfusions are coming in. Don't like that at all for INnoVation. Well, now this BC is going to start backing away, being like, yeah, I can get out of here. But no, he's going to die. So that battlecruiser is going to go down. He will start to kill a few drones. That's a nice lineup. He gets 8 workers. Okay, gets 10. That's something. But the BC is going to die still, right? Serral knows where this is going. He knows it's going home. So he's going to catch the BC, and by catching the BC, again, you take away some of the anti-air that Terran might usually have to defend. He didn't actually build a second BC. He's gone straight into Thors, trying to build up missile turrets. It just takes away so much pressure that the Terran player had, because now, what can you actually do? Well, these mutas can focus fully across the map. You know, you're just going to be... I mean, this turret goes down right away. Serral can take a 4th base and just drone easily behind this. He's actually still making lings and mutas. I think he realizes the opportunity he's got, because he also killed all the Hellions, right? So there's not even that much to defend against the freaking Zerglings. So the lings are going to overrun the missile turret. That means the mutas can come in and clean up the Hellions. And that 3rd base location is just not allowed to happen right now, apparently. Well, there are the Thors, at least to help push back the Mutalisks. But then you've actually still got to get rid of these Zerglings. 10 SCVs already down. I mean, now Serral starts to drone up a little bit behind this as he realizes maybe I can't get too much more done. He takes the worker lead simply by killing SCVs, which he actually needed to do. He was, after losing 10 workers and then obviously not droned himself, in a bit of a rough spot there. He's still got lings and mutas on this 3rd base, which will get the few extra workers to push him over. 20 workers killed. And Serral puts himself into a very good position here as a refinery coming up on the 3rd base. And the mutas are going to go back away up through the center. A few banelings from Serral out down on the bottom side as well. A couple of Thors coming up. +1 vehicle weapons, +1 vehicle plating. I mean, upgrades that may not ever really come into use. Look, it turns out baneling hits into this mineral line here. The mutas actually just going to straight up dive onto the Thors. There is a new BC out, and there's actually 2 more Thors to the left side. Serral just says, I'm going to go for this. He actually loses a fair few mutas, but it's also that kind of situation where you can almost afford it because you just know you're going to end up being ahead on income. And by trading out the Thors right now, it really just, you know, elongates the amount of time these mutas can be on the map harassing for. It opens up more positions. The Thors can't be as spread out because there's less of them. So it's one of those trades where, you know, a lot of the time I don't know if those mutas taking that fight is really necessary or good. In this case, I actually just kind of love it because I think anything you kill off from INnoVation right now is just more problems for him a minute or 2 down the line. As we see the Roach drone coming up, so Serral getting into a very comfortable composition on the ground. He'll have Roach Ravager Bane, which is obviously, especially when you take a big eco lead, it's very difficult to deal with because Serral can then just make this composition and just run it at the mech army a few times over. And eventually Inno's going to break. The one thing Inno won't get up is a 4th base, right? There's no way you're getting to that in a scenario where there's, you know, Roach Ravager Bane knocking on your front door time after time. So eventually you just get kind of bled out on 3 bases. And it might take a little while. That is just the eventuality of what we're looking at here. Is the Thors in the turret good enough to push the mutas back for the moment? Now Serral being a bit more conservative with those mutalisks, saying, yeah, I don't need to dive in as much. The damage is already done. He'll come back around the left side and just try and squeeze his way, maybe buy into the main base even. Right, what is in the main base? Just a turret, couple turrets. His mutas are going to come straight in, and that's going to be a dead missile turret and dead SCVs. I mean, that's what, the entire mineral line almost? 10, 12, 13, 15. That's a lot of damage as well. He's actually going to start picking off the armory. There's some Banes crash through over here. They actually get a couple extra workers. There wasn't that much of a follow-up once the wall had gone down. Man, the mutas in the main just did so much. And he's going to turn. He's going to jump on these Thors. He's going to get rid of them very easily. And so INnoVation is going to need more in position to deal with it, but he just doesn't find it. Serral is going to get himself the victory in this ace match and was able to put the win on the board for the War Pigs, his team in the War Chest Team League. GG's. A very fun set of games. I mean, obviously kind of frustrating watching INnoVation that first game is. I mean, this second game I feel like was Serral. He got a bit of a build order advantage, etc., right? And it kind of played out like that. And Serral's very good, and once he gets an advantage like that, it's very hard to come back from. The first game was still just a little sad, and I just want to touch on it once again, because I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you know, Zerg's so broken, but Serral played a very, very difficult position very well, and it all comes back to the fact that INnoVation gave him the chance. You know, if you don't make that switch into mech, there is so much less opportunity for Serral to get back in the game. I just want to reinstate that, because the mech transition really deletes so much of INnoVation's advantage. It was really crazy to see that happen. So I just wanted to touch on that one more time because I feel like that was the real talking point of this entire video. which I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to stuff it full of likes. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel here. I know a lot of you guys have been doing so, and I'm so appreciative of it. I mean, it's so awesome to see that we've made so much progress on the stream. So on the YouTube channel. I don't know if we've got a goal really to hit by the end of the year. I don't know if we're just going to try and get 35k YouTube subs or something, but yeah, it's been great. So as always, just a thank you to you all. Have a great rest of your day, and of course, I'll see you guys next time for even more StarCraft 2 video a day here on WardiTV.